On today's episode of Locked On Oilers, Edmonton batters the Penguins in Steeltown, but just how big of a win was it for the Oilers? We will talk about that and much more on today's episode of Locked On Oilers.
You're Locked On Oilers, your daily podcast on the Edmonton Oilers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to Locked On Oilers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host and former Oilers game day producer, Brett Holden. As mentioned on today's episode, we're going to start off with the big win in Pittsburgh last night as the Oilers just hammered the Pens in Steeltown 7-2. We'll talk about just how big that win is for the Edmonton Oilers in just a second. But also on today's episode, we're going to preview tomorrow's matchup against the Columbus Blue Jackets. A massive matchup in that one for the Edmonton Oilers to keep their run going here. And to wrap up, we have our Beast of the Week. And I think we all know who it is, but we'll save some sort of imagination for the end here. Thank you so much for making Locked On Oilers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you find your podcast. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. Where we are going to get started is with the Edmonton Oilers with the big win. Big win in Pittsburgh. I almost called it Philadelphia, but I didn't. Either way, they're both in Pennsylvania. And the Edmonton Oilers getting the sweep, completing the sweep in Pennsylvania. A big win in Philly, and then another big win in Pittsburgh. And now the Edmonton Oilers head off to Ohio to continue that trip. But it wasn't without a little bit of the tribulations, though. As minute 5 in for Chris Letang, that is all Letang needed to score the first goal of the game. And that was when a lot of Oilers fans, you sat there and you went, uh-oh, here we go again. You know, the Edmonton Oilers sometimes aren't fantastic with responding after the first goal, but it was a totally different team we saw from the Edmonton Oilers. A minute 5 in, the Oilers allowed the first goal, and after that, it was anything but Pittsburgh Penguins. It was all Edmonton Oilers. All Edmonton Oilers. Pucks were just getting cycled below the goal line for the Edmonton Oilers. Tristan Jarry, I truly feel bad for the guy because he just had no chance last night against the Edmonton Oilers. The Oilers just dominated from a minute 5 in. The Oilers played a very solid 59 minutes. That's okay. That is okay. A big game for the Oilers, but it also wasn't done without their stars. Obviously, McDavid, Draisaitl, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins all getting on the score sheet. Connor with 2, Leon with 1 on the power play, and Nugent-Hopkins also scoring a very pretty goal on his goal as well. He gets his 600th career point against the same team he scored his first NHL goal and point against. How about that? But again, the Edmonton Oilers couldn't do it without their stars. Connor McDavid this year, 46 goals, a career high. 46 goals for Connor McDavid. This guy, the fact that he has a career high right now in the middle of February, we still have to get to April. There's something like 20 games left in the season. And Connor McDavid is at 46 goals. People are talking, can he get to 60? Heck, I saw somebody say, I forget who it was, but they said if the Oilers were to acquire Erik Karlsson, there's a real possibility he could get to 65 goals. And he's on pace for over 150 points. The Edmonton Oilers, and I know everybody goes, oh, if the Edmonton Oilers didn't have Connor and Leon, they'd be screwed. No kidding. If the Colorado Avalanche didn't have Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar, they'd be screwed too. Duh. That's how these work. That's how you build teams. Like, shut up. I've never understood that. But you see why. Leon Draisaitl also continuing to spread that lead for power play goals. The Edmonton Oilers are a threat at 5-on-5. The Edmonton Oilers are a threat on the power play. The Edmonton Oilers are a threat anytime they're on the ice, and they showed it once again in Pittsburgh. Now, I talked a lot about the Stars, but it wasn't just the Stars who were scoring. Warren Foegele, his third goal in 3 games. Devin Shore, his first goal in 41 games. He got the big penalty at the end of the Philadelphia Flyers game, or he drew the big penalty at the end of the Flyers game. The Edmonton Oilers scored on the power play, the double minor, and we all know the rest is history. And a lot of conversation about the game that he had. Good. He's playing well. Kyler Yamamoto with his first goal since returning from that injury, his second point. The Edmonton Oilers are getting it from other guys. Stuart Skinner, second straight win. These are big for the Edmonton Oilers. And you want to know why it's big? The Edmonton Oilers, after that win, sat second place in the Pacific Division. Not only that, the Edmonton Oilers now, well, not right now because the LA Kings did win, putting the Edmonton Oilers in third place in the Pacific Division, 1 point back of them, or 2 points, But what it did was also put the Edmonton Oilers 2 points back from not only the lead in the Pacific Division, but the lead in the Western Conference. The Edmonton Oilers have quickly gone from a team who were fighting for a wild card spot to the best team in the Western Conference. The Edmonton Oilers are 32-19-8 this year, and over the last 15 games, they are 11-1-5. That means out of a possible 30 points? 2 times 15, 30 points. There we go. See, I was never a mathematician. Out of a possible 30 points, the Edmonton Oilers have ended up with 27. (27) of a possible 30 in the last 15 games. That's impressive. And that is how you climb up the rankings. That is why that win for the Edmonton Oilers is bigger than just on the scoreboard, but also in the standings as well. And not only in standings, playoff spots as well. That is, you talk about standings, but it's the playoff seeding that is more important. Alrighty, let's move on from this game and head into tomorrow's game. 10:30 puck drop between the Oilers and the Columbus Blue Jackets in Ohio. So let's talk about that game for a little bit. Who's there for the Oilers? Who isn't? And who will get the start for the Edmonton Oilers? We will talk about that and much more in just a second. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar. Looking for a delicious treat but don't want all the fat and calories? Then you gotta try Built Bar. Listen, we're past the first month of 2023, and this is where our real New Year's resolutions start to poke their heads out. And I know I'm serious about eating healthy, and that I don't want to sacrifice taste in doing so. And that is exactly what I get with Built Bars. But why are they so healthy? Well, it's because healthy is actually tasty with Built. Seriously, they are so delicious, you won't think they're good for you. Perfect for your New Year's resolution. So again, what else makes it so healthy and delicious? Well, maybe it's the fact that they use 100% real chocolate. Yes, real chocolate. And they come in unbelievably delicious flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and chocolate almond, or coconut almond, not chocolate, but it is wrapped up in 100% real chocolate, so it is basically a chocolate coconut almond. Either way, it is some of the most delicious things I have ever had in my life, and you can get them not only still at Built.com, but at participating Walmart locations. So check out your Walmart for the nearest location for you to find your next Built Bar. Alrighty, let's move on to tomorrow morning's game. The Oilers have another 10:30 puck drop. You know what, last time? Well, no, not last time, because the last time, technically, the Oilers played at 10:30. It was that Montreal Canadiens game, and that didn't end pretty well. But they played the Senators at 10:30 the day before, and that was a little better. So, we'll see how this game ends up. Not technically a matinee, I guess, but still. Let's talk about some Oilers news first, as Evander Kane did not make the trip for the Edmonton Oilers, as he is now out with, I believe they have called it broken ribs. They have been kind of under the radar with what they are calling it, but he does have a rib issue, I can confirm there. So he will be out for the next couple of weeks, it sounds like. Probably about 2 to 3 weeks. We shall see just how much the Oilers miss him, because ever since he came back to the lineup, the Oilers have been better too. So he will be a big miss for the Oilers. He has also missed the last couple of games, so it's not really a sneaking suspicion or a brand new thing. I'm sure you're not sitting there going, what? Evander Kane? But still, he didn't make the trip for with the Edmonton Oilers. But you know who did make the trip is Clean Costin, as Clean Costin is feeling better. In fact, he posted an Instagram story with one of his friends who also plays on the Columbus Blue Jackets, Igor Chinakhov, who has been out with an injury for a little while now, but our good buddy, so it's good to see him not only on the trip, but also seeing a buddy there. No Oilers lineup notes really, other than the fact that not Stuart Skinner, Jack Campbell will most likely get the start for the Edmonton Oilers. He was in the starters net today, and of course Skinner getting the last 2 games, so makes sense that Campbell will get it. So no lineup notes for the Oilers heading into this one right now, but we can take a look at the other side. The Columbus Blue Jackets, will take a look at their lines from last game, and some interesting things to note from this team. Johnny Gaudreau on the top line with Boone Jenner and Kirill Marchenko, who scored the game-tying goal the last time these two teams played. We will talk about that game in just a second. On the second line, Kent Johnson with Jack Roslovic and Patrick Laine. You know what? I keep looking at this team. Kent Johnson, Roslovic's a very good player. Patrick Laine, Gaudreau, Jenner. The fact that Marchenko is playing on the top line, and yes, I know it's not a great Columbus Blue Jacket team, but Kirill Marchenko has gotten a lot of praise. They have what's his name? Jakub Voracek. There we go. Jakub Voracek is currently out for them as well, but they also have Zach Werenski out on the injured reserve. They have a lot of players who are currently out. This team might be sneaky in the next couple of years, so watch out for these guys. But let's keep going through the Blue Jackets lineup. Liam Foudy on the third line with Lane Peterson and Emil Bemstrom. And on the fourth line, Eric Robinson, Buddy's brother. Eric Robinson, Sean Corrali, and Olivier wrap up the forward lines for the Blue Jackets. On the back end, Eric Goodbranson, top pairing, yes, for the Blue Jackets, with Tim Burney. Second pairing, Nick Blankenburg, who I have really liked watching these last couple, or this season, I guess. He's not the tallest defenseman. He's a little small on the smaller end, but man, can he skate. He can really get behind a puck. A fun player to watch. I think he scored against the Oilers as well. Not this year, but earlier, last time they played too. So he's a very fun player to watch. Nick Blankenburg. He's paired up with Andrew Peak, who's not as exciting. And on the third pairing, Gavin Bayreuther and Adam Boqvist make up the third pairing. I assume Elvis Merzlikins will get the start, and maybe Korpisalo, unconfirmed right now. Korpisalo did get the start in the last game. Speaking of last games, these two teams have already played each other this year, and it did not go in the favor of the Edmonton Oilers. A 3-2 overtime loss for the Oilers, as they did score 2 goals in the second period to make it a 2-1 game, but they couldn't hold on in the third, as mentioned, Kirill Marchenko would go and tie it up in the third period, and it would be Kent Johnson winning the game with a point shot, beaten, I believe it was Stuart Skinner, if I'm not mistaken, in that game, as the Edmonton Oilers were kind of in that midst of what is going on here. Why are the Oilers not winning these games? Basically, ever since then, the Edmonton Oilers have kind of turned it on and have been anything but. Derek Ryan and Zach Hyman getting the 2 goals for the Oilers in the second period there. Connor McDavid and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins getting assists on the Hyman goal, and the Derek Ryan goal was unassisted. Now, these two teams stack up very differently from each other until it gets to the penalty kill. Goals for per game for these two teams. The Oilers sit first in all of the NHL with a 3.81, where the Columbus Blue Jackets sit in 30th with a 2.50. The goals against per game is closer. The Edmonton Oilers at a 3.24, which sits 21st, and the Blue Jackets sit at a 3.67, which is 30th. Also, what's shocking, 30th is a theme for the Blue Jackets, as they also sit 30th on the power play with a 16.2, and the Edmonton Oilers, who are on pace to become the greatest power play of all time, sits at a 32.2%, first in the NHL, not so surprisingly. And then the penalty kill. This is where things actually flip. The Edmonton Oilers have a 75% penalty kill, which sit 26th in the league, and the Columbus Blue Jackets 77.4%, 20th in the league. So, hey, not the best penalty kills by any means, but Blue Jackets do have the upper hand. The Edmonton Oilers come to this game 32-19-8. And the Blue Jackets, 18-35-5. So almost flip records. The Edmonton Oilers look to improve on their record tomorrow morning. Yes, I said morning. 10:30 puck drop once again. Alrighty, let's wrap up today's episode with the Beast of the Week. And I don't think this guy needs any introduction. He's the best player in the world. Let's get to that in just a second. Alrighty, let's wrap up today's episode with the Beast of the Week. Yes, I know yesterday there was a game, good, the bad, the ugly, but you don't want to hear that. Let's move on to the Beast of the Week and talk about somebody you want to hear about. That's Connor McDavid. Yeah, shocker. As this week in the last 3 games, including the game against the Colorado Avalanche, 3 games played, 4 goals, 4 assists, 8 points, had 2 goals, 2 assists just last night against the Pittsburgh Penguins. He reaches his career high 46. Well, he reached his career high with 45. Now every goal after that, including his 46 he scored on the penalty shot, is going to be even more for him. The kid has been unbelievable. I don't know why I call him a kid anymore. The man has been fantastic over these this past week. His career high in goals over these he has 109 points. That is video game numbers. 109 points in 57 games. That is unbelievable numbers for Connor McDavid. I'm pretty sure I put up those numbers with the New York Rangers in NHL 22. But either way, he also has a 5-game point streak, and in those 5 games, 4 goals, 8 assists, 12 points. I know I said earlier, Connor McDavid, if you take him and Draisaitl out of that lineup, the Oilers would be screwed. Yes, no kidding, but could you imagine? I don't know where this organization, I couldn't imagine where this organization would be without Connor McDavid. I don't want to, because I don't have to, frankly, because Connor McDavid puts on performances like this every single night. And it's very special when you're able to sit there, when you watch a man of that magnitude of greatness. As Jay Woodcroft said, it's like you live at the foot of Mount Everest every single day. and you sit at the bottom of excellence and you just watch it. And it's so beautiful to be able to sit there and see those certain nights. There are nights where he is even turned on that extra inch. And you sit there and go, man, is this a special talent? Connor McDavid is a special talent, and I know Edmonton Oilers fans do not take him for granted. Some do. Some certainly do. But the real Edmonton Oilers fans sit there and embrace his greatness. And this week was one of the greatest examples of that. I'm kind of getting emotional just thinking about the kind of player who suits up every single night in an Edmonton Oilers uniform. Your beast of the week, Connor McDavid. Let's wrap up there, folks. Tomorrow, the Edmonton Oilers, 10:30 puck drop in Columbus, Ohio, as they look to improve on their 32-18-8 record. Is that correct? 32-19-8. There we go. I knew I had it written down. I was one off. We don't want to think about losses anyways, as the Edmonton Oilers will not try to think about a loss tomorrow in Columbus. And hopefully, at the end of that one, we don't have to think about a loss. We can play La Bamba, baby.